Hi, this is going to be a simple tutorial on creating a lamp with FK controllers. And I divided this into two sections. The first section is going to be creating the lamp with FK, and the next section is going to be creating the lamp with IK. There are some differences, but you can animate and you can do it depends on what type of controllers you like, but it works fine with the FK or the IK system. So let's continue. So I have a sketch here, lamp sketch. It's a better it's going to be better if you sketch it out and how the function works first, and then start creating your geometry and your rigging set in Maya. So here, as you can see, the head have to rotate. This area, all those rounded area is going to be the joint area, which is going to have rotations. And maybe at the end, maybe I need an extra controllers just to move the base independently, rotate the base. Like I have a sketch here moving up and down, like rotating this and up this way, uh, without moving the upper part of my lamp. And finally, I have to move everything together. So let's start with creating the controllers. So for this FK tutorial, I'm not going to really add joints for this lamp. You can if you want, but there's I don't think it's necessary for this part. You can definitely I'm going to use joins for the next IK tutorial, but for this one I'm going to just use create a controller and just parent my geometry instead of uh, applying the joints. So first, create a controller here from this menu, and I'm going to use F9 to scale it up, and I'm going to name this nerves to circle to master controller, and I have a habit to group it. And if you want to know why I'm grouping this, you can take a look at my other tutorial, which is going to be basic rigging controllers, and I explained why I create groups and I don't do freeze transformation on my controllers. Okay, next I'm going to duplicate another one and think about all those controllers what I need for this lamp. So next one is going to be the base rotation, base independently rotating. So I'm going to create a base, Control D, and next I'm going to create a upper part. I want to move my entire upper part of my lamp, so I can name it as upper lamp, or I can just simply just name it as A controller, because I'm going to start from A, B, C, moving from bottom to the top. So Control D again, move my group up, go to the side view and put it to the center of my center area, and I'm going to name this as a B. And finally, Control D and move my last one here, which is going to be located at the center of the top sphere, and I'll name this. You can name it as whatever you want. You can name it as a head if you want. I'll just name it as a C. Okay, I have all my controllers set. However, the controller doesn't look that good, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my second and my top controller, select them, and I'm going to scale it down. However, if I scale it down from here, it's going to be scared from this center pivot, this center area here. So it's going to not maintain the center of each of the curve. So what I'm going to do here is double click my scale tool, and let me see, yeah, scale center, I'll change it to objects, and I'm going to scale it down so that it's not going to shift away from the center pivot point of each of those controllers. Next is my A controller. I'm going to scale it down. I'll use my F9, scale it down, and for this one I'm going to rotate it by holding down the J key. Is going to snap to some degree of angles. You can just hold down the J and rotate it in 90 degrees. And next is going to be my base. And I'm doing this because I want to distinguish between the master and the base controller. If they are in the same location, I cannot select what I want. So yeah, now I have all my controllers ready to be set. And next, finally, I have to parent it out to each of the geometry. So this geometry, the head part, have to rotate and move together with my C controller. So select the geometry first and shift select the C controller and hit P on your keyboard and test it out if it works. And next, my B controller is going to move the upper part of this geometry. So not just my C, but even my geometry here. So select my cylinder here and shift select my B controller and hit P. Now I have my upper part here moving, but not the head. So what I have to do is I have to parent my controller C to my B controller. However, I don't directly parent my C. I have a group on top, so select my group first and then shift select my B controller and hit P on your keyboard. So now I have my upper part moving together, and then I have to do my A controller. So the same thing, not selecting the B controller directly but the group, and then if you're using the outliner, hold down the control key on your keyboard and select the A controller and hit P on your keyboard. So now I have my upper controller moving, but I still have to move my geometry here. So select my cylinder here, the sphere, and then just parent it out to my A controller. And finally, not finally, but almost at the end, what I have to do here is I have to move my base moving directly to my base controller. So select my base cylinder, shift select my base controller and hit P on my keyboard. So now I can move this independently. And finally, select my base, the group of my base controller and the group of my A controller, and finally select my master controller and hit P, so that whenever I move my master, it's going to move everything together, which is beneath my master controller. So now I have set this ready and to animate, and I have an animated version for exactly the same thing here, this one. And if I hit play, I have a lamp animation with the controller that I set here.